Good morning, Texoma. I'm Ashley Fitzwater, and this morning we're taking an inside look into a day that's been set aside to honor so many of our Texoma heroes. We're talking about March 29th. President Barack Obama has declared that Vietnam Veterans Day, and it's a day that's been around, I guess, about 2 years to celebrate those who have served in the Vietnam War. We're going to take an inside look at some of those heroes. We're also going to talk about some of the services that are being offered to them, and really the big thanks that so many never got. Joining me now to talk about just that is Marcia Rossi. So we appreciate you being here with us this morning. You are the Veteran Service Officer with Wichita County. This Veterans Day that's been set aside by the President, can you tell us why that's something maybe Texoma needs to be aware of and recognize?
There have been a few dates set aside to recognize veterans. Specifically, it comes to mind Memorial Day and Veterans Day. But President Obama chose to recognize the Vietnam veterans because it has been many years they have returned from war and they were slighted. They were not welcomed back in the way all veterans deserve for defending their country and our freedoms. So they set up this proclamation so that finally those specific veterans would be recognized, and they are highly, highly deserving of that.
Something that's fairly new. It's only been around a couple of years. So is this something you would like to see more people catch on to, that you would like to see more attention drawn to it? I know the idea has been thrown around about businesses jumping on board.
Yes, like Memorial Day and Veterans Day, a lot of our local businesses give discounts, restaurants too. We'd love the churches to recognize those members of their congregation who are Vietnam veterans, and by the same token also reach out to the other veterans who are among them. But you might need to know is, who are veterans? Well, we've got the active duty guys that are retired, their dependents. We also have the Guard, the Reserve, Marines, the Guardies, Coast Guard, the Merchant Marines.
Wow. All
of the services. So we're there for a lot of potential clients, and we're happy to serve them.
Do you know about how many people that is made up of, just here in our community?
Unfortunately, no, I don't have a solid head count. I can tell you that we probably see about 12,000 clients a year. But what we're trying to do is get the word out because we would like to see more. And helpless children and widows too are clients of ours, and we want them to come in and get the benefits as best they can. But can I elaborate on what services we provide? That might help get them in.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I've got a laundry list here that I'd like to go down and let you know what we have so you can spread the word, okay? So I've already told you who's eligible, but we can talk about medical benefits. But we have a clinic here in town, a veterans clinic up on 7th Street, and they provide the initial services, and they can refer out the veterans for further care. But we also help them with their travel vouchers because at a certain level, they can get travel money because they go on for care at different locations. Our primary job is service-connected disability. So this means if someone is hurt in service in some way, and it's not just during a war where they're shot, but so many of our troops have bad knees, bad backs, because they exert so much energy during those times that they're hurt in that way, and we take their need for help to the VA, and the VA comes back and lets us know what their level of disability is. But there's another group that don't qualify for this because this group had to have served during a wartime or at least 24 months. They're called pensioners. So the VA can give them pensions, and that too we fill out the paperwork for. We take care of burial benefits, we help with the money, we help with the tombstone, presidential proclamation. For serving our country, the president signs a proclamation thanking the family. We also have adapting cars and homes for the handicap, so we can arrange for monies to put in ramps or cars to have the system that goes down and wheelchairs to put on. We give them the paperwork. We advise them where to go for loans, you know, and we even counsel formerly incarcerated prisoners who are veterans and need benefits. But that's just the tip of the iceberg of what we do. We want to take care of our veterans and their families.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. And we handle the Vietnam vets, the Gulf War vets, the guys and gals coming back now who need this care. I have a lot of World War II vets, and their numbers are just dwindling, but they come to us too for help.
Yeah. Definitely something a lot of people need to take advantage of and need to know that it's here. For I know there's so many we can't cover them all, but you can give them a call. That number, we'll put it right there at the bottom of your screen. Thanks again for joining us. We need to take another quick break, but we are actually going to sit down with some of those veterans. So stick around, take someone. We'll be right back with much more. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are taking an inside look at a big day this Saturday, of course, March 29th, Vietnam Veterans Day, a day that's been set aside to honor those who have served in the Vietnam War. Joining me now is one of those vets. This is Dick Crislip, and we appreciate you being here with us this morning.
Thank you, Ashley.
Well, first of all, I just want to start by saying thank you for your service and what you have done for our country and for your time being here this morning to kind of give us an inside look back into that time frame in your life. So can you just start by telling us really what your role was? I understand kind of two different things that you did.
My first tour in Vietnam was 1966. I was one of the first medics at Cam Ranh Bay. That was a big Air Force hospital. I was instrumental in actually building the hospital.
Oh, wow.
When I got to Cam Ranh Bay, there was just a few tents. That was the hospital. They decided they needed to build something more substantial. Civil engineers, they didn't have the manpower to do it, but they said, well, we'll provide the know-how if the medics can provide the manpower. So I volunteered for that, and I got a hammer and some nails and a Vietnamese work crew and literally built the hospital.
Wow.
And a couple of years later, I went back to Vietnam, went to Cam Ranh Bay, and some of the two-story buildings that I had built was still standing. I was really impressed.
Do you know if any of those buildings are still there today?
I don't know. Last I heard, the Russians had moved in at that time, and they had my building. My second tour, I was a language instructor with the Vietnamese Air Force. My purpose was to teach English to the Vietnamese Air Force so they could come back to the United States and go through our tech schools. That was the purpose of the program. I wasn't attached to the Air Force base at all. I actually worked with on the Vietnamese Air Base with the Vietnamese. Got to know the people real well, and got into that Vietnamese culture, and really got to like the Vietnamese people. That was the most rewarding job I think I ever had.
Wow. Did any of that carry over into maybe what you do today?
Not really. I would like to say, though, that like so many other Vietnam veterans, I left Vietnam in 1970. But Vietnam never left me. You know, he just was there for a number of years.
Whenever you think of Vietnam vets, you know, a lot of times we remember how America maybe treated those vets whenever they came home. It's a different story that we were talking about earlier today.
Right.
Do you find maybe people even react differently whenever you tell them you're a Vietnam vet today versus back then?
Yes, I have a kind of a strange take on the way Vietnam veterans were treated when they came back. It's true that it's the first time in American history that the people took their frustrations out on the individual GIs in the war. And some were treated quite badly. I missed a lot of that because I stayed in the military. I stayed in my little closed society there in the military. I stayed in the service 18 years after I came back from Vietnam. But you know, the welcome home, and you know, we missed all that. But I would like to say that for myself, and I'm certainly not speaking for all Vietnam veterans, I think in the end we got more recognition by not being recognized than if we had been recognized when we come home, because people now, like today I'm wearing something, Vietnam Veterans Association. People come up and they'll thank me for my service, and I think we get more recognition today than if we had been treated like the other veterans in past wars. When we came back, we wanted to make sure that future veterans was not treated the way we were. I'm now the president of the North Texas chapter of the Texas Association of Vietnam Veterans. We put on a big parade, one of the biggest parades that Wichita Falls has ever had, honoring the Desert Storm veterans when they came back. And we just made a vow that veterans will not be treated like we were.
Sometimes, it can create bitterness, but instead, you've taken something maybe negative that's happened to you and spun it into something positive. How rewarding has that been to just kind of let that go and make this something you refuse to let happen to anybody else?
It's like it gave me a mission. Veterans stick together, and that's like a new mission to make sure that things run like they're supposed to and not like we were treated. And so when we get together for these events, it's like Old Home Week, and we all get to see each other again.
A lot of people may not realize it, but there's been kind of two different sides to how some of the vets are seeing the day that's been set aside this Saturday, March 29th. Can you talk about why some may not be for the day necessarily?
Yeah. In my opinion, Veterans Day, November 11th, is all-inclusive. That includes all of us. Vietnam veterans, I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make up for the way that we were treated when we come back. But we don't need that. I think that if I was a Korean veteran, for example, I'd feel that a real slap in the face that they're giving the Vietnam veterans their own Veterans Day and not Korean veterans. So I don't put much stock in Vietnam Veterans Day. A few of us may get together and eat a piece of cake or something, but it's certainly no big celebration. Down in Austin, there are on the 29th, they're dedicating a memorial just to the Texas veterans who died in Vietnam. I won't be able to make that, but if I hadn't had other commitments, I would have gone down to that.
A nice gesture then, to believe something that was needed.
Oh, yeah.
What can people do, just kind of the last thing today, to make sure that we continue to do it right? Whenever these heroes of our area come home, what can we do as a community? What can we do now to maybe even say thanks to vets?
Well, if it wasn't for veterans, the wars now and the past, we certainly wouldn't have the lifestyle we have today. Mm-hmm. And we owe it to those veterans. Just the recognition, thank you. What's your politics? They're always trying to take benefits away from veterans.
Maybe volunteering.
Yes, Texas Association of Vietnam Veterans. We were formed on the premise that we need to change the image of the Vietnam veteran, because a lot of people, when they think of a Vietnam veteran, they think of the homeless living under a bridge. And they don't think of all the other Vietnam veterans out there. Yeah. So our purpose in the Texas Association of Vietnam Veterans is to just do things for the community. Like at Christmas, we went out and we donated to 6 or 7 different organizations. We sponsor an event at Spatial Olympics. We provide a scholarship to MSU. We do a lot of positive things to change the image of the Vietnam veteran.
Wow. Mr. Crislip, it's encouraging to see how you've really just flipped this. Now you're the one giving back to the community. You're the one making sure these vets are honored, whenever that just didn't really happen to you. So we appreciate that, and again, appreciate your service. And that's encouraging, I think, for this next generation to hear for sure.
Well,
so.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We need to take another quick break. We'll be right back with another look inside Texoma. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are focusing on this Saturday. It is Vietnam Veterans Day, a day that has been set aside, of course, to honor the vets who have served. Joining me now is another vet, Miss Joanne Luckingbill, and we appreciate you being here with us this morning, Joanne, so thank you.
Thank you.
Can you tell us exactly what you did? I know you were a nurse.
Yes, I was a very young nurse. Vietnam was like a wall in my life. I mean, before Vietnam I was young, innocent, teenager, and then when Vietnam came, it changed my whole life forever. Just turned 21.
Wow.
And we were older than the people we were taking care of.
Yeah.
They were all 17, 18, 19. My father was in the military, and it was just automatic for me to think about military career, and so I volunteered and I joined the student Army Student Nurse Program my senior year, and I just went right into the service.
Can you tell us where you served and kind of what your main job was?
I was an RN on the medical surgical unit and recovery, and I started out as a first lieutenant and became a captain.
Oh, wow.
Doing those duties for taking care of the patients.
Was that something that you loved doing? Was it something that was hard to do?
Saw some pretty bad things, but it was satisfying to be there and actually make a difference to those people who have been injured.
Can you tell us how that played a part in maybe who you are today?
I tend to want to give orders and see them followed, but that doesn't work in the workplace today.
Have you been able to stay in contact with anybody, or
none of the patients,
or any maybe of the other nurses or other
some of
members
the
that
other
you served?
nurses, yes, and then I was part of a nurses group that we met in Illinois twice a year. So I keep in contact with them too, and they're all Vietnam nurses.
That's awesome. So coming home for you, was it different?
They didn't pick on the women veterans that came home, but you soon learn not to talk about being a Vietnam nurse because they would give you all kinds of crude comments, and there's nothing you can say about it because they, oh, you're just protesting because, but so you soon learn to not say that. And so it was years before I started talking about being a Vietnam nurse.
Wow. What do you think changed that? Was it the sense of a new generation coming up that changed that, or what changed it to where you said, this is something that was a part of who I am. This is something I'm going to be proud of?
I guess it was the news media brought to light all the conflicts that the veterans had, and a lack of VA care, but that became better and better. So it became normal to talk about it.
Can you tell me the response now when you talk about it with other people and you tell people how you served and what you did in that war? What is the response that you get?
They look at me and say, "Really? You did that?" But it's a nice really.
Yeah.
It's not derogatory anymore.
Anything you can tell us about this day that's been set aside? I know there's some different views on it. How do you feel about the day that's been set aside this Saturday, a day to finally be able to say thanks, to those who have served and how appreciated you are?
It's nice. It's coming about, but it's a little late. And I'd like to see all the veterans receive the attention and the care from the VA that they deserve. One thing, when I first came back from Vietnam, a lot of people didn't realize there were any women. Even the male vets were in Vietnam didn't think there was any women unless they got shot and went to a hospital. If they were just out in the bush, there's no women in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And I thought there was only medical in Vietnam. Then later I met a young lady that was a supply clerk. And she said, you weren't the only women
that were there.
Yeah.
That's true. Sometimes we think that. So,
but now there's all kinds of women and different jobs and stuff.
do you think that's encouraging to see? I mean, as a woman and as a woman who served, do you like the fact that it's expanding and now women can choose different things? They don't have to just maybe do one field.
Yes, I think that's good.
Well, we again just want to say thank you to you as well, Joanne, for your service, and thank you for your time and for being here today, and we just really appreciate it.
Thank you.
We need to take another quick break, Tex Home, but we'll be right back with much more, so stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are honoring our vets today, and joining me now is Kim Putman. And we've talked a lot about the Vietnam vets and those who have served, but we want to honor all vets today and really just show our appreciation to them. Now, Kim kind of has a dual role here because you are an Iraq vet, but also serve and help vets right here in our community. You're a veteran peer provider at Helen Therapy. Can you talk about how your experience, and I understand post-traumatic stress disorder played a big part in this, and what you do today to help so many others?
Yes, I came back from Iraq, and like so many others that have come home from war, didn't know that things had changed, and then PTSD became part of my life, and I am fortunate to use that and help others also struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Can you talk a little bit about those services? Because it may be something people just don't realize is available, and it's not even just available to those who serve, which I think is so interesting as well.
Right. We have support groups, and one is for family members. We discuss the issues concerning post-traumatic stress disorder, symptoms, anger, family issues, and trust. And it's a great way to get that camaraderie back that you missed in the military as well.
And I know you're always reaching out to folks, and they don't have to have really just recently come home from war either, right, to take part in this. Can you talk about who you're trying to pull in?
I would like to see any veteran, regardless of what war they served in, or even some veterans I do see didn't even serve in war, but do have some issues from the military itself. And I'm so glad that we are talking about Vietnam veterans, because I do hear complaints and people are still mad about how they were treated. And I just think this is a great way to say thank you to those veterans.
And is there a cost involved in this?
Helen Fairby goes by a sliding scale. If you don't have any money, then you won't pay for services. And we have counseling for trauma, and they could just contact me and do an intake and get that set up.
Why was it so important for you to be involved in this?
I felt a real calling in my suffering, that I just didn't want it to be about me, and share my story. And it's not always easy, but the more I do, the easier it gets. And I just want to try and be an example of those that are struggling, that it can get better.
And I think that's such a great point you hit on, because you hear that all the time. It's something maybe they're ashamed of, they don't want to admit, they don't want to talk about it, but it's not something to be ashamed of.
Yes, and everything is confidential. But while people have served in the military, some people were taught or thought that it's a sign of weakness. But you're not going to get better unless you start working on it, and help is available.
Absolutely. And again, we'll put that number right there on the bottom of your screen if you'd like to contact them for more information. Anything specifically as we approach March 29th that folks can do? I know you'd like to see this day grow. You were talking about that with me in the break, and you'd like to see maybe more people get involved.
Like Marcy said, I would love it if restaurants could give discounts, just like on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and churches as well announce the Sunday after and recognize the veterans in the congregation.
Absolutely. Well, Kim, we, of course, want to thank you for your service as well, and thank you for what you do for our community. I know it's helping out a lot of folks, and something that's needed and appreciated. So we appreciate it. Absolutely. And we want to say thank you, Texoma, for joining us this morning. We hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Day. Get out there and say thanks to a vet for all that they've done. Have a great day. We'll see you back here next Sunday morning right here on Inside Texoma.